All right, hello and welcome to another Expert Insight interview. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop, online sales magazine, and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Nima Hakimi, who's just up the road in Los Angeles. How are you doing, Nima?
Doing good, doing good. Glad to be here
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, Nima is the co-founder and CEO of Convoso, a company you started in about 2006. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you started as an innovator of outbound contact center solutions. But tell me a little bit about what I'm really interested in about is how it's developed, and particularly how AI and then compliance, how you've taken those two things to really progress the company to where it is today, and what that journey was like.
Yeah, no, so if I look back at it, about almost 20 years ago, when we first launched the business, we were just there to help out a family member, a distant relative, to uh, put together software for his call center to automate calling his leads.
Hmm.
And at that point, we discovered that making cloud-based software was just more affordable for small businesses, right? Rather than paying large upfront costs for premise-based software.
Hmm.
That was the problem that we were solving back then. And so if I look back over the years to fast forwarding it now, and at the speed of how AI is progressing, those are just table stakes now, having
Right.
cloud-based software, right? That's just a norm these days, even
Hmm.
though there's still some premise-based, depending on what type of business you are. And so as I look at the evolution and AI, I would say there's a lot of buzz around it, certainly, right? There's a lot of hype
Sure.
behind it, there's a lot of potential behind it. I think that there's definitely a lot of value. You just have to be clear about what problem you're looking to solve in your business, rather than just saying, hey, I want to use AI because it sounds like that's what everybody's doing. It sounds
Hmm.
cool, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So what problems have you found that AI can particularly solve for your business?
Yeah, for us, I would say it's really, our customers care about connectivity and contact rate, right? They
Mhm.
are doing outbound calling, they're revenue generating teams. So what their most important metric is the contact rate.
Yeah.
And these days, if you get a lead and they're giving you consent to call them, unfortunately, with the bad actors, it's not as easy to get them on the phone anymore. Right?
Hmm.
People are getting bombarded with calls. You have the analytics engines that are flagging the calls as scam, spam, telemarketer, and so it becomes a matter of dialing responsibly with the software, of course, being compliant, and then how do you manage your call ID reputation and management. So the way we look at AI is really by studying our customers' account, their campaigns, how they're dialing, and helping them come up with the best caller ID to use in real time using AI, using various data points that is more
Hmm.
likely to get picked up by the consumer by scoring the numbers and using proprietary information that we have both on our end and using the customer's information. And you could not do that before in the past, right? You were talking
Hmm.
about some of our customers have tens of thousands of leads, and
Yeah.
dialing at that pace, and it gets into hundreds of thousands of leads. You have to have good systems in place to look at your data and make decisions in real time.
Yeah. So that ability to be able to really target and get to the right people obviously then reduces the amount the spray and pray approach. I mean, it eliminates that.
Yeah, you don't want to just blast away and call anybody and everybody. You certainly want to have a strategy in place. You want to have a good call cadence in place, and you need to measure everything, of course, so that you're making a targeted outbound approach versus just, like you said, spraying and praying and hoping
Mhm.
people pick up.
Yeah. And compliance is obviously you referenced that earlier. Obviously, it's getting harder and harder. I mean, I think we everybody you talk to will say they're getting more spam calls, spam text, spam everything nowadays. Compliance is definitely a big issue and a differentiator for you. I mean, you have a lot of tools built into your system, and dynamic, rules and monitoring. Just talk to me a little bit about why that is so important, and why that differentiates you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the big thing that I want to focus on is that a lot of people, especially with what we're seeing now with AI and the voice right? AI voice agents, what people
Mhm.
don't understand, there's a lot of compliance when you're doing outbound. I mean, more than probably most everyone knows. And we've been doing this
Yeah.
for 20 years to where we've come across it all. But you have mini TCPA rules where certain states have different requirements from one another in terms of how many times can you even call the same
Mhm.
consumer per day, right? There are the call time rules, there's the DNC, those are standard things, but different states now have different requirements that you need to adhere to. And if you don't, you're going to find yourself in a lawsuit overnight.
Yeah.
Bottom line. So we have that all built into the platform. You can, using our state tracker is what the tool is. You can set it on a state by state level, and you're automatically going to be in compliance. And more recently, you have the reassigned number database. So what happens
Mhm.
is,
Mhm.
people change their phone numbers from time to time, right? If somebody gave you consent and they filled out a form to reach out to them, but they changed their number, and you now call that same number, you're out of compliance.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you have a system that integrates with the reassigned number database to where it will scan it and make sure that you're not going to call that lead again if it was reassigned to a different person.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you've also talked to me about some of your innovations that you have, like voicemail detection or caller ID reputation management.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about those, because those are fascinating. Because again, like you said, I mean, it's such a difficult area you're operating in, not just from a compliance point of view, but from a perception point of view too, right?
Yeah, so I mean, great question. When we look at it for an outbound dialing, if you don't have good voicemail detection, an outbound dialer is useless.
Hmm.
You have to have the ability to distinguish the difference between a human that picked up the phone and a call that went to a person's voicemail. And if you don't make that distinguish that difference and detect it correctly, now what's going to happen is you're going to make calls out to people that pick up the phone, and if the system doesn't detect it correctly, there's no human, I mean, no agent, call center agent that's going to be able to talk to
Yeah.
the person. They're going to get aggravated, right? Now you're going to be losing the lead. Your cost is your conversion rate is going to go down.
Yeah.
The agents on our end, on the call center side of it, or the people that are making the calls out, if they're getting calls that are false positives, meaning there's a voicemail that doesn't get detected and gets transferred to them, they're wasting their time. So there's
Mhm.
a lot of deep analysis that we've done on how we perfected the system to where it has 97% accuracy in terms of making sure it correctly identifies if it's a voicemail versus a human answering the phone. And most systems out there don't have that tweaked really well. So you might have sometimes 30-40% of the calls that get connected are voicemails, and you're now literally wasting 30-40% of a person's productivity on calls that don't go anywhere. So that's one.
Yeah.
And then,
And by the way, not to mention, you're also aggravating the people who get those like voicemails that with nothing, right? With just gaps.
oh, right. I mean, the other part of it is, are you referring to you're talking about when
No,
the
the person on the other end, like if you're calling a voicemail and like then you realize it's a voicemail and you just move on or whatever, you're wasting your time, but you're also
correct.
often filling up somebody's voicemail with garbage.
Yeah, you need to make sure you know how the system decides to detect it, and then what do they do with it. And obviously having, smart capabilities, intelligent capabilities in terms of, if you do want to leave a voicemail,
Hmm.
being able to do that with smart voicemail capabilities, where you can determine if you want to leave a voicemail message on the first attempt, maybe
Yeah.
after the third attempt you don't, or the second attempt, but maybe after the
Hmm.
fifth attempt you want to leave a final message. You can automate that process with the dialer. The bigger thing that I want to talk about, I talked about a little bit, is our launch of Convoso Ignite.
Yep.
And it is really this automated way of number management. Number management has become a real thing. What carriers don't like you to do, and anybody, they don't want you to necessarily cycle through and replace phone numbers, right? They don't want you to get the number for the caller ID and then use it for a little bit and then take it out and put a new one in there.
Mhm.
That's not something that really works well. And what we're trying to do is, we want our customers to more intelligently pick it scores the numbers for T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T, because every carrier decides differently. On one telco carrier, it might say it's clean. On the other one, it might show as a scam or spam.
Mhm. Yeah.
Not just that, we've discovered that different area codes, when you're calling, sometimes on an 818 area code, it could show that it's clean, but a 954, it might show up as scam or spam. So there's no rhyme or reason. Unfortunately, nobody really knows what causes it to be flagged, and we're trying to help our customers connect with their leads that they
Right.
got consent on.
Yeah, because obviously, I mean, that's a big issue, isn't it? I mean, if your IDs keep coming up as spam, right, it's not going to do you. It's not going to do you
No
much
one's going to pick up
good.
the phone. No,
Yeah.
you might as well not be in business if your call is getting flagged. People don't pick up, and if they do, they're skeptical, right? Because
Hmm.
they got a call here that says scam or spam. We've actually noticed the difference when we do a split test, and
Right.
we put half of your calls using our Ignite product and half on a standard. Even the success rate we've seen has gone up. The conversion rate has gone up on the calls that are through Ignite. And my guess is that they're not as skeptical, right? Once the call shows up more clean, even if you've gotten consent, the moment it shows up as a scam or spam, some people are just not going to trust it, and you're going to lose that trust from the consumer.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that we see a lot, obviously, is I mean, here in I mean, I'm just saying for here in San Diego is when you see all these calls coming from these areas inland where nobody lives, right? And they're constantly calling you, you know immediately that it's that they're just leveraging a trying to leverage a somewhat adjacent number to get to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see too much of that, but yeah, I guess that's another way of standing out and maybe getting attention. And it's unfortunate, right? You should do things the right way
Hmm.
in a compliant manner. Doing outbound, people don't understand that it can be very successful and profitable for business if you follow the rules and you make data driven decisions. I really want to emphasize data driven decisions. The spray and pray method used to work maybe back in the day where you could just make calls out. That no longer works. You need to look at your results and understand between the different lead sources. Some of our customers, they buy leads from the 20 different places, or they generate leads through Facebook, Google,
Mm.
TikTok, you name it. There's different ways that they generate leads, and you need to measure the performance on a daily basis to understand which one is performing and which one isn't. And then based on that, you start making some really good decisions to optimize your campaigns for uh, the best results.
How important is it that your product is very easy to integrate with other systems? Because let's face it, I mean, oftentimes like a product like yours would be integrated in, say, a CRM like ours or other products. So integration has to be very smooth, right?
Yeah, I would say, it depends on what you want to do, right? Because integration and integrating means so many things to
Well,
different
yeah,
people.
of course.
So, so for us, it's certainly important to make it simple and easy and as streamlined as possible. We're always working on improving that. We have, good integrations. At the same time, we're actually working on the next level of going deeper and deeper to where you can potentially even implement our engine within your platform. That
Mhm.
is, another way, a next generation of how we're thinking about it.
Yeah. So what's where are you going? Where do you see this product going? Obviously, as technology advances, as AI and it starts to become, more and more adaptable, etc. Where do you see your product going?
Especially with AI, I see one of the challenges that businesses have, whether large or small, is the back end of the technology of managing it. You really require somebody to sit there all day, even with automations. And we have a lot of automations,
Hmm.
but there's still some element that you got to watch to make those decisions in real time. Because when you're talking about having 50 agents, 50 salespeople making calls, you're talking about a good amount of volume, and little decisions have a major impact. So the way I see it is just like, agentic AI, and it kind of doing things on your behalf. Well, finding ways that the system will make decisions on your behalf, which are the best leads to call, which are the best leads to connect with which agents, and figuring that out in real time by itself is how I see this world evolving. There is certainly, AI voice that everybody's talking about. I think there's a place for it.
Yeah.
Inbound more so than outbound. When you're talking about outbound, there will certainly be a use case for it, but for sales, it's to be seen. I think if you're looking to use it for sales, you're limited in where it can go, and the type of, again, use case that you want to do it for.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, honestly, we tested some of that just because we're a bit geeky in that way. But we tested some of those tools, the outbound AI and to be honest, it really it doesn't work. And the only time we found that even when you looked at it, the only time you were getting any interaction was literally when somebody was just realized it was AI and was just messing with it. So it for us and for our kind of business, it certainly didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, look, if it's for appointment reminders
Sure.
or prescription, reminders or things like that, I think that it depends on what the intent is. When you're
Hmm.
talking about sales, there's an element of there's a human component.
Yeah,
Listen, AI is going to get smarter without a doubt,
of
but there's
course.
a human component that is so vital to a sale.
Hmm.
And again, I don't want to disregard regulation. People don't understand how heavily regulated outbound calling is,
Hmm.
and you want to add AI into it. You really got to educate yourself and make sure that you know what you're allowed to do and not to do before you do anything outbound related with AI.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I mean, that's where regulations end up coming from, and being overregulated is because people, jump on these things without any thought for compliance or any thought for the end user, or whatever, or for the target, and then obviously, governments step in with more and more regulations. So I mean, using these things intelligently, as you said, is critical to allowing businesses like yours to be able to operate.
And then make sure there's an ROI there, right? Just
Yeah.
because it's AI and it sounds great and it sounds like it can replace humans.
Hmm.
Well, after you implemented it, did you actually see a positive? Like, was there an ROI there, and how much? And I think that's also being lost in the bigger picture of things. As there's all this buzz around it, but at the end of the day, are you measuring the difference it's making?
Hmm.
So that it goes back to making data-driven decisions, and I think the excitement that everybody gets kind of makes you kind of forget about why are you doing it and what are the results. So I would say that,
Mm.
like, really pay attention to that as well.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about some of this success that your customers have, and what difference it's made to your business, and what tangible differences it's made to their businesses.
So, like I was saying earlier, our customers, the one of the most important metrics they care about is the contact rate, right? This is the percentage of leads that pick up the phone from the calls that are placed. And what we've done is we've built Convoso Ignite. It's within our dialer engine, right? It is built
Mm.
inside of there, so it's not a third party tool that you have with your outbound dialer. It's all built in there, and we've allowed our customers to do a split test where you run 50% of your calls on Convoso Ignite and the other 50% on the standard or any call ID reputation solution that you're using to manage
Mhm.
your numbers.
Right.
And when we've done that, we've seen, depending on a customer, anywhere from at the low end, a 10% uplift to high end 50%. And that 10%, it might sound like, well, 10% is not that much. But when you're talking about making a lot of calls,
Yeah. That's a lot.
in a big operation, that 10% makes a major difference for our customers, the way that their businesses operate.
And then obviously, I mean, if you take that and you look at, okay, if I'm better targeted, if I'm better success rate, then I mean, because sometimes, let's face it, outbound and call centers, like, they just go for volume of people calling,
Yeah,
right? It
right.
sounds like when you do this, you could actually be a lot more kind of, you maybe could operate with less, more focused people.
Well, so here's what happens, right? You when the contact rate goes up, the other part we've seen is you make fewer dials, and we've seen as much as 30% fewer dials per conversion. So now you're not burning through your leads as much. You're getting
Hmm.
through to your leads. You're saving money on not having to buy more leads to generate the same amount of sales or conversions. And everybody wins at the end of the day, while making sure that you're not over dialing your leads. Because the problem is nowadays, it's great that the analytics companies have the ability to place that label. The problem is they don't know exactly when to do it, when not to do it. So what is that? How does that impact our customers? Well, if the call gets flagged, they're going to make more calls in order to try to get a hold of the person that gave them
Hmm.
consent to be reached out to.
Yeah.
And it's not they're not trying to intentionally make more calls, but listen, if they if somebody expressed interest in their product or service and they paid anywhere, it could be on the low end, it could be $1 per lead, it could be
Yeah.
50 or $100 per
Hmm.
lead. You're gonna want to get a hold of that consumer. So, there's gonna have be some everybody has to adjust. I think the new world of outbound is really all about responsible dialing.
Yeah.
You need to pay attention to the number of times you want to redial your leads. Look at the point of diminishing returns. And what I mean by that is, after how many attempts typically do you see a conversion, and stop. Don't keep dialing the same lead over and over, because you're going to get flagged for over dialing your leads. And I don't think people understand how damaging that is. That, you might say, well, I got a sale after the
Yeah.
30th attempt. Yeah, but how many did you get at that money? And
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a cost to that, and most people are not educated to understand that. But so you have to really look at that and start operating in a more responsible way if you want to operate successfully in outbound.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, listen then, thanks, Nima. Thank you so much for sharing all this with us. All of Nima's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people about what Convoso does.
Yeah, so we're at Convoso. We are a contact center platform for revenue generating teams, and it's a outbound dialer with built-in campaign management, caller ID, reputation management, and omni-channel capabilities. And our North Star really is to provide our customers with the highest contact rate possible while staying compliant.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, listen, thanks again, Nima. Thank you for watching and listening. See you all again very soon. Thank
Thank
you.
you, John.